What's going on, Raider Nation? Sorry about that. Had a few technical difficulties, but nothing's going to stop this freight train tonight because I'm fired up. Episode 100. That's right. Oh, I got something for you. Episode 100. That's right. Episode 100 being brought to you by DoorDash, NFL Sunday Ticket, and Bet Online. Make sure. Shout out to the chat. Drop the 100 emojis. I'm going to have something for you later. But drop some 100 emojis in the chat for me and get this thing fired up. Let me know where you guys are listening from. I'm pumped. 100 episodes. If you're just now starting to watch this on YouTube, this is obviously not like 100 episodes for you. For everyone that's been tuned in from day one on the podcast, this is 100 episodes. This is it. This is where it all started. Of course, we're doing this every Saturday night right now, 8:30 p.m. Pacific. And that'll change to post games during the season. Every post game, we're going to be shifting over to as soon as the game is over. As soon as the final whistle blows, give me like 5 minutes, for them technical difficulties like what happened tonight. Give me like 5 minutes, and we're going to jump in and we're going to go live with a pretty long show, at least an hour long, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. We're going to be taking live callers. I'm going to have a phone number posted up here. You're going to be able to call in, and we're going to be able to talk about the show within an hour, basically, of it being over with. So I'm pretty pumped up on that. But episode 100. Again, episode 100. I'm so fired up. I'm so pumped on this. What's weird is I've never been one to like have these like little milestones like that. Like when it came to like audience numbers and listeners and viewers and subscribers, I always set goals. But episode 100, like it didn't even like hit on me, like it didn't even like sink in until this week. I had a vacation with the family last week. I like post-produced the 53-man roster projection that I put out. I didn't even know that it was going to be episode 99 until I published it. I was like, oh crap, it's not episode 98. That's 99. I got episode 100 this week. And then this entire week I've just been fired up, ready for episode 100. So shout out to the chat. But first I want to give a shout out really to the day ones. From the get-go. I'm going to take, this is a little out of the ordinary, but I want to take a few minutes and give a few shout-outs here. Of course, my guy Kenny King Jr. coming in with the intro. Stewie for the United Kingdom. Of course, he's probably asleep right now, but shout out to Stewie and the Violator, man. Wayne Mabry. He came in. All three of those guys came in and helped me with my initial introduction. It was the same music I use now, but they came in, let them know who they're listening to. And my first episode, I took like a Q&A. I took a Q&A and had like a good handful of guys. I want to give a shout out to those guys that jumped in on the Q&A for the very first episode. Before I'd even dropped an episode ever, they came in, and that's at Razor Raider, Raider Nug 209, Angel Rodriguez 66, SS_Santana 52, at Legend 54626, at TM Raider, and at Rogers TSI. All these guys came in huge. And shout out to my guy, one of the moderators. He's not here too often, but Brian Valero was the first guy to ever on his own single-handedly go out and share that I was putting out a podcast. That was the first ever on his own, not a retweet, but he went out of his way, made up his own tweet, dropped his own link. Shout out to Brian Valera. That's he's in Pennsylvania actually, and that's the thing about this show is it's been built on, I would say, relationships. Right? I never came into this thing ever for money. Like obviously, I'm just a fan. It's a fan show. I wasn't hired on. I wasn't, brought into a show under a corporation with corporate money. I wasn't, brought into these things. I wasn't like firing up a business. I was a fan that was very, very passionate for this football team. And really it was I wasn't even striking while the iron was hot. I wasn't coming in while we were winning. I came in, it was like the week after we got our butt kicked by the 49ers. If you guys remember that in Santa Clara. And I was at that game. And I don't know, I think that's kind of just where I wanted to dive in and get this thing going. And really, like I said, it was just built on relationships. I've had some great ones. Of course, Kenny King goes from being in my intro to basically being like my best friend on the microphone, to the point to where it even took us a long time to even meet, but we talked so much on the phone, talked so much on the mic. We developed like a great relationship, and now I enjoy going to games with him, events, doing all these different things. Kenny King's my guy. A lot of relationships with players. It's been nice to interview some of these guys, talk to them on the side, just kind of like get to know them a little bit, even like outside of football, just kind of know what's going on. I just earlier today talked to a former Raider. He hit me up about like some moves that we were making, and Great dude. Had him on the podcast. He's on another team now, but was great to sit down and talk with him just about, like what he's got going on football-wise. Bigger than football, bigger than the team. Of course, I'm trying to stay loyal basically to, the silver and black, but it's great to have these relationships. And I really want to give a big shout out to Blue Wire Podcasts. The Blue Wire Podcast Network's what, kind of took me on and really made me feel like right there, we have something good going on here. They're legit. And it was a growing network at the time whenever I joined them. Yeah, they had a lot of potential. They prided themselves kind of like me. I feel like I really pride myself on presentation. They did the same thing. Blue Wire Podcast Network has been great on the podcast side of things. But big last shout out to like a mentor of mine, Raiders Beat. If you follow Raiders Beat on Twitter, I talk to him almost daily. He's been a great dude, just even like outside of podcast, YouTube, family man, things like that. We talk a lot. It's Mr. Anonymous. Can't give you a name, but he's the guy that runs the Raiders Beat website. And I use him as a landing page, RaidersBeat.com. So make sure you subscribe to RaidersBeat.com if you already don't. But it's been those relationships like that. And now going to Vegas and growing something with Stage Door Casino. Shout out to Stage Door Casino. Anyone that goes to Stage Door Casino in Las Vegas, hopefully we'll be there. I'll be there. That's anytime I'm in Vegas going to a game, that's where I'm going to be going. Shout out to the chat. I'm going to try and catch up with you guys. Sorry, I'm trying to run through. I want to thank everybody because really it's not like I've never wanted to come in here. I feel like I've tried to take a different approach. There's a lot of fan shows out there, but I've wanted to try and keep something that's semi-professional, but still like an authentic fan show. Nothing that's going to be. I'm not trying to get in a press box. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to. I had a phase last year. I was able to get a couple credentials to go to training camp in Napa last year, and that was great. It was amazing to be able to do stuff like that, to be recognized. But I want to be a fan. I want to be sitting in the stands. Like I said, it's founded on relationships, but it's also founded on I want to be with my audience. You know what I'm saying? So I look forward to finally 2021 maybe, right? Whenever we can finally go to Vegas and we can hang out. That's what this show's all about. That's my goal here. So everyone getting involved in the chat, I appreciate you. Everyone here listening, the biggest thank you is going to you. The biggest thank you is going to every single one of you guys that are tuned in here, that are tuned in the post-produced podcast, that listen any way, anyhow, anything. This is the biggest thank you goes to you for just coming, sitting down, and listening to me rant. So without further ado, we're going to get our first guest in here, and that's going to be Eddie Borsilli for look, I got these confetti cannons set up, guys, for episode 100. 100, baby. I love it. So we're going to take this quick break. We're going to get our guy, Eddie Borsilli, on the phone. Eddie Borsilli, buddy, what is going on?
Dude, what is going on? We are 2 weeks away from the NFL season. I am pumped, dude. What's going on?
Not much, man. So joining me right now on the Stage Door Casino hotline, my guy, the most honorary guest on this show, NFL SiriusXM's radio station's executive producer, Eddie Borsilli, host of the podcast Yards Per Attempt. If you guys are into your podcast, obviously if you're listening now, you're obviously somewhat into your Raiders content. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, not on YouTube, podcast platform, Yards Per Attempt. So, Eddie, coming in hot, man. We got some live football today, huh? How do you feel about that?
Dude, I was watching college. It was so glorious to put on the TV and actually see people and the pads popping. And like, it was good to see football on the TV screen again. Like, people said college football was back tonight, and you turn on the television and you see live games, you see hitting, you see tackling, you see everything. It was glorious to see, dude. It really was. With the season so close, I'm so pumped for the season, man. And it was a nice sight to see it on TV tonight.
I love it, man. To the chat, just so you guys know, we're going to be talking about defense. We're going to wrap up this conversation with defense. So if you want to start dropping in some defensive themed questions, go ahead. I'll keep a lookout. We'll pop some in here. But first, Eddie, we got some recent news. Couple things, of course. Trent Brown returning to practice, which was kind of a thing that Raider Nation was tracking because that's what we do. We overreact to everything, especially when we're not being told things, right? And then, of course, the Tyrell Williams injury. What's your impression of these two moves right now?
So, I mean, I do feel bad for Tyrell Williams a little bit. I mean, since he signed the deal, he seems like he's been, bit with the injury bug a little bit. He can't kind of escape it. I know he had this injury back in college. Look, for a receiver, he's got to keep his hands above his head the entire time. He's got to catch passes above his body. It's not going to be an easy thing for him to play with, but he can play with this injury. It does need surgery. He doesn't have to get it right away, but I just feel bad for this guy that last year started the season so well, so strong. Injuries happened. John took a step back, and you come into this year being that guy next to Henry Ruggs, that other option for Derek Carr, and the injury bug just happens again. It's just that thing. It just, for whatever reason, you feel bad for the guy, but hopefully he can play through it. Hopefully he could survive with this. Again, it's going to be painful for him, but I think he could play through it throughout the most of the season. Trent Brown, to me, and I'm not saying this in a way that is derogatory in any sense, but Trent to me is a guy that goes out on game day and just gets the job done. So him missing practice, him missing scrimmages, him missing part of training camp isn't a big deal to me because I know the guy will be there week one. I know he missed some time last year, but to me, him missing time for minor injuries is not a big deal. The most important thing is him being on out there week one, being out there the entire season. So him missing some time in training camp is meaningless to me, as long as it's not a big-time injury. So for Trent Brown, I think he'll be out there week one. I think he lines up. I think he guts it out. Tyrell Williams, man, it's gonna be a season-long thing. And if Tyrell can't go, it's gonna open the door for other players. But I still think he is able to get it done, especially for week one, especially the first couple weeks of the season.
I'm with you 100%, Eddie. Shout out to Van Guy 209 in the chat. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Appreciate all the audience, everyone tuning in here. I got I'm Rampage, Fierce Raider, Diego Lopez, Big Art, Running Bear, Watts Raider, Chris Rodriguez, Lucille popping in the chat. We got a lot of people active here, and I want to say back to the topic of Tyrell Williams, the torn labrum in college. Still being able to play his senior season or his final year in college, should I say? I don't know if it was his senior year. He played the entire season, racked up 950 yards, 8 touchdowns, played through it. But then again, that was his first, right? So then he goes through and he gets in the 2016 season, and the end of November has in the same shoulder, tears the same labrum, doesn't miss a game, keeps playing, produces a couple hundred yards like he's just there. I think it's safe to say I think I'm with you 100%, but thankfully I think we're in a spot unlike last year. We got a guy just like Brian Edwards in the spot to where if he can pick it up and he can grow chemistry and he can be in the right spot, run the right routes, and be there mentally. He's got the talent. If he can be there mentally and healthy, I think Brian Edwards is kind of there to succeed and out-snap Tyrell Williams in 2020.
See, and I'll agree with you in 2 points. I have torn labrums in both of my shoulders. It's not that you can't play with it, and I'm not playing NFL wide receiver, so I have no idea what he's dealing with, and I understand it. Again, it's just painful to deal with. So it's about pain management. It's about a guy out there going out there and dealing with some type of pain. It's not like he can't deal with it, on a given day. It might hurt sometimes more than other weeks, whether it's week to week and stuff like that. But to your point about Brian Edwards, and it's more about the overall wide receiver depth. You think about Nelson Aguilar. You think about Zay Jones. You think about the whole wide receiver core as a unit. I really think, and it's hard, man, because, again, we talked about this on a podcast before. 2020 is such a unique season in that rookies are going to be at a disadvantage. If you're on a training camp somewhere right now on SiriusXM NFL Radio, rookies are going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage because there's no preseason games. The install is going to be a little bit difficult for them because there's nothing for them to judge. It's basically like going up against a college season where you're thrust into a week one game without anything to base it off of. So I am 100% on the Bryan Edwards hype train, but I am going along the lines of a John Gruden more, where if Tyrell can't go and Ruggs is out there and Tyrell's out there and maybe Tyrell miss up, I'm more, early in the season at least, I'm more of the thinking that an Aguilar or Zay Jones is going to take that spot early in the season. And you've heard good reports about Aguilar right away from training camp. I'm more of the thinking that they're going to take the snaps early on this season just to get their feet wet a little bit, and then maybe the rookies. I know there's been a lot of articles that Ruggs and Edwards are going to be two rookies to start. In different year, if it was a year like any other, yes, maybe. But in 2020, no, because it's just such a different year without preseason games, pandemic, everything that's in the fold. I want Bryan Edwards to take that leap, and maybe he will be that guy. But early in the season, I'm gonna put my money on an Aguilar or Zay Jones to take the snaps away from Tyrell if he can't go early on.
I like that. No, and I'm actually kind of shifting over with you 100%. I'd like to see the progression of these rookies throughout the season. But Zay Jones this offseason, I mean, last year, I mean, he was out there. He had snaps, but he just didn't have that chemistry with number 4, and we know how that is. You know, you got to have chemistry with Derek. He has to have trust in you as a wide receiver before you're going to get that load, just like what we saw develop with Hunter Renfrow. Now, at the beginning of this offseason, the way these offseason workouts began with Derek, the practices were organized by him, but initially when they first started, it was Zay Jones that reached out to Derek Carr to throw to him because he wanted to work. He wanted to get better. He wanted 2020 to be his season. So it started with them meeting at Parks because Zay Jones needed DC to be throwing him the ball. And then, of course, that developed. So seeing that chemistry, how it's going to grow, is going to be, I think, maybe second to none on any other returning receiver besides maybe like Hunter Renfrow.
I think that's a bigger point, too. I think going back to last year, after the AB disaster or fiasco, whatever you want to call it, after he left that wide receiving core, it really was barren to the point of we didn't know what Hunter Renfrow was. We had a bunch of guys that were there besides Tyrell that we didn't really know much about. This year, you have guys, you have rookies, you have the guys that you want to come in, but you also have those veterans. And when I say veterans, I mean Zay Jones is still a young football player. Nelson Aguilar is still a young football player. These guys are not older veterans that are like the Ryan Grants that are going to come in here and maybe make a difference. These guys could still play at a higher level. So, going back to last year, I just think, again, it speaks to the overall wide receiver depth that Mayock and Gruden have put together. You go out and you address the wide receiver position with Edwards and Ruggs in the first round and the third round. Do you also address it in free agency with young players that are trying to prove something? I'm always about former first or second round guys that are trying to prove something because the talent is there. It's just about executing, and I'm confident that Gruden can get other guys like that.
I love it. Eddie Borsilli always coming in here with some great conversations, coming in hot, bringing some heat on the Stage Door Casino hotline. And make sure you guys, Raider Nation, as we're going to Vegas, we know Stage Door Casino is going to be my spot. Hopefully you guys know that if you're listening to this show. And be on the lookout for Nation Nights. Every Friday and Saturday night before game days, Stage Door Casino is going to be having Nation Nights. So they're just going to be all silver and blacked out. I wouldn't be surprised if they go as far as not even letting you in unless you're wearing Raiders gear. I mean, that's how strict they are. That's what they want. They want the silver and black packed out in their place, and we're here for it. So shout out to Stage Door Casino in Vegas. Eddie Borsilli, man, we got some. The chat's loving it. The chat's loving the conversation. Shout out to a Seattle Raiders fan 96. Running Bear, Jimmy 3 Tech. Hey, Jimmy, what's going on, man? Grizz, got the moderators in here. We want to wrap this thing up, Eddie. The final topic I want to talk to you about is the defense. And now we're seeing – this is what's crazy, man, is I feel like the defense, we finally got out of this rut of being in this, 2005 prototypical defense. So we finally get some athletic linebackers. We go out and we get some corners with attitude. We got Jonathan Abram coming back healthy. We get like a little bit of a ball hawk in Demarius Randall. We're getting an interior defensive lineman that can pass rush. I feel like we're getting to that point to where we're finally matching up with these gunslinging offenses like, hello, the Kansas City Chiefs, the one team that we're really worried about the most.
Yep.
But then we go and we add a linebacker like Raekwon McMillan. And don't get me wrong, does he fit the type of linebackers I think we need on the field 24/7? No. He's an early down linebacker. But he comes in, I think he fills that Sam role where he's going to rotate in, right, on short yardage situations, first downs, stuff like that. But it still seems that the popular opinion is that the Raiders are stuck in the past and we're going with a run-heavy defense. So, Eddie, take this thing from the top, run with it wherever you want to go. What do you think about the transition that the Raiders have made on defense going into this new year?
See, that the narrative that fits with is, you take every single transaction they make and you try to put a magnifying glass on it and say, what are they doing here? To me, getting a Raekwon McMillan is just kind of like an icing on the cake a little bit. You're flipping a mid-round pick for a guy that's 24 years old, coming from a big-time college program in Ohio State, that, maybe is a little bit of a liability in coverage, but what did you do? You went out and signed Corey Littleton, you got Nick Kwiatkowski, you got the playmakers back there that you wanted in free agency. So this guy is, you know what, all right, maybe we need a little help on first and second down. Maybe Nicholas Morrow is better on special teams, or he's better as a backup linebacker than he is starting in a 4-3 base defense. So you go out there and you get a guy with a good pedigree for a mid-round pick. I'm all for it. I really am. You addressed the need. Look, I understand that we have to match up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Nickel's going to be the base. You're going to have DBs on the field all the time. Corey Littleton's going to be on the field. That's why, and I said it on this podcast a million times, and I said it on my own podcast, Corey Littleton was the kind of key piece on the defense that they needed to land, because he was the type of guy that can go out there and cover the tight ends. He can go out there and cover the running backs out of the backfield. That if the Raiders covered the receivers for an extended period of time, that they wouldn't get killed in the underneath stuff like they did in the past. So you sign a Kwiatkowski. So to me, they really addressed their needs at the linebacking core and in the secondary in free agency. Mm-hmm. Getting a guy like McMillan, to me, is you're always, and Mayock and Gruden, you would think that they're trying to do this on a consistent basis. You're always trying to upgrade the roster. So you look at a guy like Nicholas Morrow. Can we get better at that position? Yes. Let's go out and acquire Raekwon McMillan for a fourth-round pick. He's on an expiring contract. He had 100 tackles a couple years ago. Let's go out and get that guy, plug him into our defense. He puts in a first and second down, and he makes us a better defense. So I think overall, if you look at this linebacking core as a unit, it's probably on paper the best linebacking core they've had in probably 15 years. And I've said it again, since Kirk Morrison and Thomas Howard were linebackers for this football team. So you can't argue that fact on paper. Again, they have to go out and prove it. It's, again, on defense, it's all about the pass rush. Can Max Crosby do it again in year 2? Can Cleve Farrell step up and be the number 4 overall pick? Can they get the interior pass rush from Malik Collins, Mo Hurst, and those type of guys? If those things happen, everything else on the defense falls into place. The coverage guys don't have to cover for so long. The linebackers can run and hit. Everything else happens. If you don't get that pass rush, it's not going to happen. So they're relying on their guys up front to get the pocket, to get the pass rush, the linebackers to cover. You now have 3 under 27-year-old linebackers that can run, that can cover, and that can tackle. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You don't have to single it out and say, this is a guy that just does this. This is a guy that just does that. Does he make the overall defense better? Raekwon McMillan is a better player than Nicholas Morrow, so he makes the defense better. So to me, it's a no-brainer. So overall, you're going into this offense. Do we probably match up with the Kansas City Chiefs on a given week? You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen on a given week. You don't know what guys can get out. But if the pass rush is there on a consistent basis, this team could match up with any team on defense, because they invested in the defense on free agency, they invested with defense in the draft, and they just have to roll the punches. They have to trust the picks that they make and trust the free agent guys that they did. And I trust it, because they're the guys that we targeted and we talked about for months and months and months before free agency started.
I'm telling you, Eddie, there's a common theme here in the chat, and it's not really about specific players. Really, it's more about the defensive line. And it kind of goes, I guess, as we're pumping up this defense, as we're talking now, it's easy to highlight the linebackers. That's what you're doing. It's easy to talk about the secondary because we're, pumping in some dogs. We're getting that mentality. It's great. I have a few quotes I want to share later in the show from Mike Mayock, even talking about that. I think we have the guys, that young character on the field that is going to be able to make up for the missing fans. The big plays, the energy that's going to get carried over from the fan roar. We're going to be able to get that just from the energy of the guys that we have on the field. And we have that in the secondary.
But even that too, and I don't mean to cut you off, but even that, a friend that I was talking the other day, when Charles Woodson came into this league as one of the best prospects in the secondary to come into this league, Charles Woodson got roasted early on too, as one of and he's going to make the NFL Hall of Fame. So even if the secondary guys are there, even if Arnett is the real deal, even if Mullen is the real deal, these guys need a pass rush up front to make an impact. They need that type of security blanket early on to get their feet wet. I tweeted out the other day. I talked to Terry McLaurin from Iowa State, and I asked him about Damon Arnett. He said, Damon Arnett plays with no fear. Damon Arnett goes out there and talks the talk. Some corners will say, I want that type of noise, and I want to be physical, but they're not about it. He said Damon Arnett's that guy. But you don't expect that from week one with secondary guys. That's why the front seven is so important. That's why going out and getting Malik Collins, and you want Malik Collins to be that interior guy to disrupt the pocket a little bit, to expose guys to Crosby and to Farrell and the guys like that. Again, it's all about, 2 years ago when the team didn't have any sacks, it didn't have any pressures up front, we got roasted. Last year, we disrupted the pocket. We had guys that got after the quarterback, and it made a big difference. You just add 10 more sacks a season to what we had last year.
Yeah.
You're talking top 10, top 15 defense in the league. And then with the offense we had, sky's the limit. So it's a little bit more than what we had last year, and you expect that from what we got in the draft and free agency.
100%. So I'm gonna the final thing I want to know about our defense then, and this is a topic that's been circulating hot topic for a couple weeks, but it's been going around for a while now. We got Yannick Ngakoue and Jadeveon Clowney still sitting there. There's reasons, of course, that nobody has traded for Yannick, and there's reasons, obviously, that nobody has signed Jadeveon Clowney. Given those underlying fears or question marks, who to you should we pull the trigger on, and what do you think that would turn our defensive line into?
See, to me, it's a no-brainer, and it's Yannick Ngakoue, and it's a couple reasons. Jadeveon Clowney is one of the biggest freak athletes and just studs you'll ever see on the defensive line, but he doesn't mesh with what John Gruden wants. Jadeveon Clowney came into the league as the number one pick in the draft. He's got all the talent in the world, but he doesn't practice. On the practice field, he doesn't go out there. He doesn't give it his all. Even in games, when Clowney wants to play, when Clowney wants to be the most defensive, wants to be the best player on the field, he is the best player on the field. When he wants to just kind of half-ass it a little bit, he half-ass it. Ngakoue's a guy that has the motor 24 hours, 7 days a week. That's the guy that is hungry for that contract, that's hungry to get after the quarterback. But to me, the problem with both of them is, and Clowney just wants a lot of money. He wants to get paid. That's why he's not signed, right now, because there's teams out there that could want the services. Ngakoue, to me, is if you trade for Yannick Ngakoue and you give up a pick and you give up a player or whatever the contract is, you're going to have to pay him what you're going to pay Khalil Mack. And on the surface, Ngakoue is a ridiculously productive player, and he would immediately turn the Raiders' defensive line or defense as a whole into one of the best defenses in the league. But are the optics enough? Do Mayock and Gruden care enough about the optics to say, you know what, we're going to get Ngakoue on this team, and then we're going to pay him the big bucks that we didn't pay Khalil Mack? To me, if they don't care about that, Ngakoue the guy is a double-digit sack guy any year that he's been in the league. So you line up against Max Crosby, but again, are you acquiring Yannick Ngakoue and just saying that Cleve Farrell is going to move inside, or he's going to come in on third down? So there's a couple variables here. I want both players. They would both make this defense and this team a lot better. To me, Ngakoue is the clear choice over Clowney just because of the work ethic and because he's so consistent against the run and against the pass. But can they get past the optics of, A, trading for a guy, giving up the thing, and paying him, because you're going to have to pay him. If this guy comes in here, he's a double-digit sack guy, you're going to have to pay him like a double-digit sack guy. He's going to want premier pass rush money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're okay with doing that and you want to give him that money, I'm okay with it. But again, twofold. Are you okay with giving him money? Are you okay with basically saying you're going to move Farrell inside and move him around the defensive line? But to answer your question, both of them would make this defense really, really good. For me, every week, in and out, Ngakoue makes this defense a legit threat in the AFC as one of the top defenses in the league because he immediately puts them on that line, and you have two guys coming off the edge with him and Max Crosby that can get up to the quarterback, and they would both be elite to me. So my vote would be Ngakoue right now.
Yeah, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate because I lean more towards the Jadeveon Clowney side. But I see all the same issues that you do with him and the practice concerns and how bought in is he. If maybe he could be convinced that, he'd put on that silver and black and be all in with the Raiders, then I think that's all it would take for Mayock, to be on board with it, for Gruden to be on board with it.
Yeah, I'm in with Clowney. If you're going to tell me that Clowney is going to take 1 year, $11 million or 12 years, he's going to be a mercenary essentially coming in. All right, I'm with it. Let's bring him in here. It's only money for a year. He's got a year, pay him, and he leaves after a year. Or you resign him, whatever. I'm into that. I'm not into to giving him three or 4 years, kind of guaranteed money. If he's a 1 year mercenary and he makes the defense a lot better, I'm into the Clowney factor too. It's just each of them bring a different thing, and I worry about Clowney's mental state when it comes to in and out every single week, and especially playing with a guy like John Gruden.
I agree. Everyone in the chat, go ahead and drop in either Clowney, or I'm not going to make you type out Ngakoue because it's just going to look like a third grade spelling mess in the chat room. So you can put Yannick. Yannick?
Just do a Y or J.
Y or J. That's a good one. Y or J.
Both names are pretty hard if you think about it.
They've got hard.
Jadeveon or Yannick. I mean, geez.
Oh, it's a recipe for disaster right there. I will say I appreciate you, Eddie, for jumping in here and talking a little defense. We've been trying to plan this for a couple weeks. Look forward to talking to you more often, even though you almost forgot about me tonight. I'm glad you pulled through, and I'm glad we had this conversation.
I never forget about you, to be honest. I really don't.
It's
again,
okay.
You're a Pacific time guy. Look, I am with you talking Raider football at almost 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern time because I'm so pumped up for the season. It's 2 weeks away. So I love Raider Nation. I love talking Raiders. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. My wife's giving me dirty looks, but I'm out here talking Raider football with the nation. So I'm totally into it.
The passion. I love it. Eddie Borsilli, the most honorary guest on the show, man. Appreciate you plugging in here. Everyone in the chat, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you say thank you to Eddie Borsilli for coming in here and creating some good conversation. And subscribe to his podcast on your favorite podcast platform, most likely Apple Podcast. Yards per attempt. Great little show. He sits down and just himself can break down his opinion and give his thoughts on the silver and black. Eddie, brother, we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, guys. Just win, baby.
So I think we're back. That's it. Shout out to the chat. Clearing well over 200 viewers, and we got a lot of show left. So if you're plugged in here, we got a lot left to go. This is we're just getting warmed up. We're just getting started. Here in just a minute, we're going to be bringing on my guy Kenny King Jr. First, I got a complaint, right? I've been excited this week. Shout out, episode 100. Oh, sorry, episode, I got to do this right. Episode 100. The confetti, man. I love it. Episode 100. Super, super pumped on episode 100. But leading up to this week, I've had an annoying last few days. I got a little story for you, I guess. For those that are familiar with Craigslist, a Craigslist guy decided to post a listing for, I think they're Australian Shepherd and Border Collie mixed dogs. So he posted this thing for sale, pictures of him. He screwed up the phone number and put my phone number. So I've been getting freaking text messages and phone calls for like the last 3 or 4 days. It could be 2 in the morning, voicemails, calls, getting frustrated with me not replying about these freaking Australian Shepherd Border Collie mixed puppies. So apparently I somehow am selling puppies. I feel like honestly there needs to be a way. I need to reach out to this guy and I need to almost take a freaking percentage because I'm having to tell him, okay, email the post, let him know that the number's wrong and, get your puppies. So I feel like I deserve like a 10% cut, right? For basically being this freaking receptionist and dealing with his dang puppies. He's probably so mad. This is what's funny is I had a good laugh out of it because I'm like sitting there thinking this guy's probably so frustrated because he's like putting it out like, oh, all blue eyes, yada, yada, yada. All these puppies, all blue eyes. I'm like, oh, good looking puppies. He's probably so mad because nobody is calling him or texting him and he can't figure it out. He's probably so mad. I feel bad in a way, but it's still frustrating on my end. So we're going to take this quick break. And if you want some good deals on DoorDash, NFL Sunday Ticket, DoorDash. If you guys are familiar with DoorDash, they deliver food to your door. You order it online, they deliver it to your door, fast food, anything. If you want a good deal on that, or if you want a discount code on NFL Sunday Ticket for the 2020 season, go back and listen to the post-produced podcast because I'm going to take this break right now, and we're going to bring on our guy, Kenny King Jr., and let's see here. Let's switch this over, and we'll be right back. There we are. We're back. And joining me on the Stage Door Casino hotline, make sure you guys, again, while you're in Vegas, visit Stage Door Casino. We're going to be doing Nation Nights every Friday, every Saturday night before game days. So that's going to be it. That's where the Silver and Black's going to get packed out and have a good time. Stage Door Casino. It's on Link Lane. Joining me, though, my guy, Kenny King Jr.
Kenny King, real talk.
What's up?
What's good, bro? I heard you selling dogs. What's up? Can I get one?
Yeah, bro. Hey, Australian Shepherd Border Collie mixed. I don't have any on hand. They're just posted on my website in stock, but I don't have any on hand. I'll have to order them from my guy Jose and Cutler Rossi, but I'll get some to you.
Good looking out. Good looking out.
Oh man, what's going on, man? So here we'll start off this conversation with your new little project you got going on. That is the Training Table podcast. For those that are into podcasts, just like Eddie's, go on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to the Training Table. That's with my guy here, Kenny King Jr., hosting it with a buddy of his, Jimmy. You'll see Jimmy 3Tech here in the chat as well. And you had, I don't know how much you're into previews. I guess I'm just going to kind of force you into it anyways, but you had a conversation that's going to be coming soon. What do you got for us?
Yeah, man. So we dropped episode 1 last week. We had Ike from Ike's Love and Sandwiches on. Anybody that's in the Bay Area, Vegas, Arizona area, they're familiar with Ike's sandwiches. If you watch Man vs. Food Network, he's been on there. Amazing sandwiches. They're named after local legends. So in the Bay Area, they've got the Damon Bruce sandwich. They've got the Jamie Sirewich, the Harrison Parm, the Beast Mode sandwich. And he's got everything across the board. So we had him on last week. We just recorded part of this week's podcast with none other than former defensive line coach of the Oakland Raiders, Mr. Brenston Buckner. So he joined us, and that should be dropping, I would say, I'm gonna say Monday. It'll probably be tomorrow because I'm a perfectionist and I like to get things out quickly. But yeah, that's what we've been doing.
Familiar.
Me and James have just been. I know. I don't know where I get it from. Iron sharpens iron, right? But yeah,
man.
me and James have been plugging away and getting it out there, and it should be dropping this weekend.
Good stuff, man. Proud of you. That's interesting. As I'm celebrating episode 100, it's cool to like reflect and look back on. It's crazy how much like work goes into it, and people don't even realize what you don't see. Like as much as people like to think that I just hop on here, hit stream or record, and we just talk. It's been a grind figuring things out, and this is something just like yourself. I can confidently speak this for yourself as well. We didn't get into this because we're like real like tech savvy. Of course, I've kind of developed and got into this stuff over time, but I'd never recorded an audio track. I've never like purposely like tried to broadcast myself or record a video of myself like this, like a tutorial or anything. I never did anything like this. Yeah. It's solely because of the passion that we have for the team, and for you and your podcast, it's the passion that you have for football. So it's really something that goes beyond just doing this to do it. So I want to say shout out real quick to the chat. We got a lot of people in here probably wanting us to get into some Raiders football talk. I do want to say while you're sitting here, we got like 200 people sitting here. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. If you're watching on Twitter, hit a retweet because we are celebrating episode 100. Episode 100. I'm telling you, this is a good milestone for both of us, myself and Kenny. So, Kenny, we're getting to now. One topic I really want to talk about is Jonathan Abram and his sleeves. Oh, Kenny King's gone.
No, sorry. Sorry. My
you're good.
My kid ran down the hall. No, Abram sleeves, man. I know that you posed a question out there is what's going on with his sleeves, and I saw the Raiders had made a post, and their post was that he's taking it back to the old school, and I think that hopefully it's an homage to the old school and Willie Brown and Charles Woodson's rookie year, where the sleeves were longer and they were not as attractive, I guess. But it definitely is interesting to see him out there because, especially in the white, he looks like he's wearing little league pads. He's out there, he's got the tight sleeves around his arms, and maybe it's for his shoulders or whatnot, but it definitely is a little different compared to everybody else's.
I'm telling you, like I like the old school factor because I'm a guy that's like real into like the authenticity myself with things, like with everything. I'm kind of like I'm into the older vehicles, motorcycles. I like the the old school like kind of bobber chopper looks, right? The throwback type style stuff. I like the authenticity of things, but this I can't. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe it'll wear on me. And if he's going out there and he's like just cracking fools with these long sleeves, I'm not going to care. But I will say that there's a certain person that wears shoulder pads and a fan jersey, and it looks just like it. I'm just saying it's a little different. It's a little different, but it'll wear on me. Like it'll come with the play. It'll come with the play. Shout out to Grizz in the chat real quick, talking about the inaugural season patch here. Let me show a little preview here. Woo! Got mine sitting here. This thing is sweet. I got the jersey from last year with the 60th anniversary patch. I got to come up with. I think I'm gonna go Kenny King, man. If you're to get a rookie jersey, man, I'm thinking Henry Ruggs, right? You can't go wrong with the first Las Vegas pick. But who would you get?
I think for me, if I'm going to get a jersey this year, and it's going to be a rookie, I think I'm going to have to go with Brian Edwards. I think that he's my favorite pick of the draft. He was a guy that I was really excited about when we got him. The pick value that we got him at. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. I think he's going to be that guy that's going to go up there and get it. He's going to be that Andre Holmes, Michael Crabtree type player that the Raiders have had in the past. I think that he's going to be somebody who is probably going to take that spot from Tyrell Williams at some point. But I'm excited about Brian Edwards. That would probably be the rookie jersey that I got. I'm not big on rookie jerseys. I know. I might go a second-year player, but I think that would probably be the one if I had to choose.
Yeah, it's definitely scary. So we're talking tonight, Kenny, the hot topic. again, if you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button. What are you guys waiting for? Hit that like button. So, we're a week away from the final 53-man roster, right?
Yeah.
September 5th, I believe, is next Saturday. So that's going to be our next show. Is going to be next Saturday. And I want to kind of know. I put out a 53-man roster projection, and there's going to be things that I feel like, I already kind of want to adjust. Obviously, with like McMillan coming in, I feel like he cracks the roster. There's this like weird hunch. I don't know how I feel about quarterback. Like I had us keeping all three quarterbacks. Carr, Mariota, and Peterman. I just keeping all three, but I could see it like we're working out these other quarterbacks, right? I could see us taking another one and stashing them on practice squad, right? I could see us maybe doing something with the practice squad, maybe a fourth quarterback somehow with all the workouts that we got going on, and maybe somehow Theo Riddick. I guess there's some bubble players that I kind of want to swap around. What are some guys that stand out to you that you're watching right now, Kenny?
Yeah, I think some guys that stand out to me right now, we look at Marcus Mariota, and he was brought in to be a backup. I don't think that he's going to be a bubble player, but I think that, you have to question, where he's at in terms of recovery, where he's at in terms of his rehab. Is he ready to go if in 2 weeks when the season starts, if we need him to go, knock on wood, something happens to Carr, obviously not saying that something's going to happen to Carr, but I'm saying if something comes up, will Marcus Mariota be able to go? If not, we need to look at what are our options. Marcus, I don't think that he's going to get cut. Obviously, the Raiders invested a ton of money into him. I think they obviously brought him in to be the backup, but we need to look at contingency plans, right? We have Nathan Peterman, who has obviously impressed Gruden. He did well in the preseason last year. He's definitely better than Mike Glennon, who we had last year as our backup. But you look at what would that look like? I think that's one player that you have questions regarding. I think another one is Tyrell Williams. I think that with Tyrell Williams' shoulder, you want to know, what are you going to do with that? Mm-hmm. Personally, I would look at, if Mariota is not able to go, if Williams isn't able to go, you put them on the PUP list. You stash them away for a few weeks, and then you get them, when they're healthy and they're ready to come back. And that gives you the ability to add some guys from the practice squad that would be able to play. I think that also looking on the defensive side of the ball, Carl Nassib's another guy that kind of, shines a big light in my face. You look at the fact that we paid him a lot of money to come over here, and he's not living up to what the expectations were in camp. On the other side, you have Arden Key, who's doing really well in camp and who's been shining and who's been, exciting. So those are some guys that I'm thinking of. I got a couple more, but let's touch on these first.
I love that. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Fate _Sniper here in the chat. It's his birthday, man. So happy birthday, Augustin.
Happy birthday.
Good stuff. Shout out Raider Nation. Yeah, we got a few here, and there's a couple like bubble players that I see, like the tight end room. Do we stick with 3? Do we cut Derek Carrier? I feel like Jason Witten's like a lock. And the other one, like this is kind of the hot topic for me based off my 53-man roster projection. I don't want to say I'm going to backpedal on it, but the Prince Amukamara thing, depending on how these corners do, it's going to be interesting. Do we find a way to stick with our young guys and just it'd be young across the board. Almost every single player would be right first and second year with Nixon, right, Johnson, Mullen, Arnett, guys like that. Do we stick with those young guys in that regard? And LaMarcus Joyner, I guess, is going to be like the only veteran playing in the slot. Amik Robertson sniffing on the heels. Do we go with a group like that, or do you think we keep Prince Amukamara?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Obviously we had the viral video of Hunter Renfrow running a comeback route and Prince Amukamara getting toasted on that, which is the exact...
our fourth wide receiver? Hunter
yeah, our fourth wide receiver, who is apparently an old veteran in the league, according to Twitter. But you gotta ask yourself the question. Has Prince Amukamara done enough in camp when you've got guys like Damon Arnett? Isaiah Johnson, Keyshawn Nixon, who are out there playing for a spot, and they're out there balling, and they're doing a really good job and playing up to if not more potential of what we expected. We talk about LaMarcus Joyner, and I think that's that's something that definitely is a head scratcher for me. And I wrote about it today. Is he going to be the guy that's going to start at slot corner? Now, obviously, he'll probably start at slot corner at the beginning of the year, but you look at Amik Robertson, and the guy he's chomping at his heels. He's hungry. He's a dog out there. He's a ball hawk, and he's, let's face it, he's much better in coverage. I think that, LaMarcus Joyner is a much better safety, and he's much better in the box, and I think that we could utilize him much more at safety, and I would rather have a guy like Robertson at slot. So,
yeah, there's definitely a lot of things. I think we've kind of covered every bubble player. It's going to be interesting to see. I'd like to be able to, follow up and see how this turns out next week, because we finally have, I feel like, a lot of good players, got a lot of good young players between these last two drafts that can shake things up quite a bit. So at this point, we'll see how things shake up. September 5th, that's the cut down date. But for now, Kenny King, I'm going to wrap this thing up. I got some quotes here from Mike Mayock. But brother, I appreciate you joining me and getting after some Raiders talk, man.
Cody, I always appreciate you having me on. It was good rapping with you.
There we go. Make sure you guys subscribe. Training Table, going to be talking with Brinston Buckner, and I'm sure you guys are going to hear plenty of some current Raiders defensive linemen. So tune in, subscribe, leave that 5-star rating and review for my guy Kenny King Jr., and we should be good to go.
Kenny King, real talk.
Okay. I think we're back. Some transitions. Shout out to Kenny King's boy making a guest appearance. Some good stuff. I want to do a thing with you. I told you earlier about the 100 emoji. So I'm going to do a little thing here. I thought about doing a giveaway. I'm going to do a giveaway. Not a big giveaway. We'll have something going in the future. Last thing, I think we gave out a Max Crosby jersey like a month ago or whatever. But I have a couple cards here, a couple football cards. I don't know how you guys are about football cards, but if you're going to get something for free, it shouldn't really matter what it is, right? So I got a couple. I got this special Tim Brown Monday Night Football card. Got the sheen on it, got the shine. And I got this Bo Jackson card here. I got two of them. Originals, the packing. I got two of them. I want you guys to spam the 100 emoji in the chat. And I'll pick two winners. Spam that 100 emoji. Hit that 100. And I'll pick a winner for each card. And we'll go from there. I think we got a big enough chat room here. But I will say, if you guys are looking for some puppies, Australian Shepherd mix, Border Collie, I got something for you. But really though, I started this football card collection not too long ago. I've collected a few. I got I've even had a couple listeners send me stuff. They sent me a Tim Brown card from his own personal collection, things like that. I got a Josh Jacobs rookie card. Shout out to Dan. I got a few different cards, and then I ended up going through. I had some old ones like that I've been collecting for like a long time, and I got a pretty good collection. I might have to post a picture of it, but like John Madden, Ken Stabler. I got a good, probably 30 Hall of Famers. You got, all of them. Gene Upshaw. I got Howie Long. Even got some Marshawn Lynch stuff in there. Michael Crabtree stuff. I like all of it. So keep spamming 100. Keep on spamming that 100. Episode 100. I love it. Like I said, guys, it feels good. It feels good to be able to sit down after 100 episodes and just completely 100% enjoy what I'm doing. It's kind of been like a long, rough road, just figuring out like technical difficulties, figuring out, how to improve, how to get better, how to just, overall just make a show good for all of us to be able to sit down and enjoy things. Like that's the whole point of this show. Like I said at the beginning, it's not Not here to make money. I'm not hired on. I'm not a sellout. I'm here for relationships. And that goes from anything for anybody that I work with, that I'm friends with, that I interact with, to even like at some point, like, doing some business with, like Stage Door Casino. Stage Door Casino is a place that comes in and I partner with because I genuinely love that place. And I really want to promote it just because of how much I know Raider Nation is going to love it. It's so authentic for the silver and black. So the two winners, I'm going to scroll up, take a couple picks, eyes closed. El Garzilla. I'm going to give you the first card that I showed you, the Tim Brown Monday Night Football card, El Garzilla. Make sure you reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter at Raider Cody. And then we'll pick the second one. Rick. Just says Rick. Rick with a Raider shield. Somehow prove that those are your profiles. Rick, I'm going to be sending you this Bo Jackson card. You'll be getting that Bo Jackson card, Rick. Somehow screenshot your profile and send that to me in a DM. Prove it's you. Give me your address, and I'll send these on the way. But like I said, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to the audience, the listeners. In the last segment I'm going to wrap up this episode with is I went through, and Mike Mayock held like an exclusive interview with PSL, like season ticket holders for the stadium. And he hit on a few things. And ultimately, there's 4 different topics that I wanted to hit on. I'm going to play these clips, and we're going to chat about it. So first is the speed that we're adding to this team. And that's something that we all know. We all know we got faster, obviously, Henry Ruggs, but it's all across the board. On defense, the playmakers we're adding guys like Corey Littleton, adding, just the youth is making our team faster. So I'm going to play this clip about him talking about the speed on this team.
I think you're going to see a quicker defense. I think you're going to see a faster defense. It remains to be seen how much better we are or we aren't. But at the end of the day, we got to prove it on the field. What I can tell you is when I stand there on the practice field, I can feel the speed on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and it's better than it was last year. And quite frankly, it needed to be.
Yeah, so that's promising to hear because that was a very distinct statement. It's not saying, we try to get faster, we try to add some speed. No, it's I feel the speed. I feel the difference on both sides of the ball, and it needed to get better. And we knew that. We needed to be able to stretch the field. We needed to be able to open things up, and I think that's just going to elevate every single other player. The way that Josh Jacobs is able to excel with 8 guys in the box, the way that Hunter Renfrow was able to eat up the middle of the field with nobody to stretch the field is amazing. The same way with Darren Waller. I mean, he turned into a star wide receiver basically because he was the only guy that was able to almost run every route and excel all 16 games. So adding that speed, adding elements like Bryan Edwards having that deadly catch down the sideline, adding guys like Henry Ruggs that you pretty much have to put a safety over the top of him 100% of the time. Adding things like that are just going to make those guys even better. Josh Jacobs, even better. Hunter Renfrow, even better. The offensive line is going to have an easier job. Alec Ingold's going to have an easier job. You're not going to have the box stacked all the time. Adding that speed is going to help. And on defense, we needed that the most on defense, especially at linebacker. We talked about it with Eddie Borsilli just a little bit ago. But adding that speed, really, that's what matches us. We're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not going to shy away from it. We're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs. And I get it, we added a run stuffing linebacker that apparently doesn't match up with the Chiefs, but I don't freaking care. We added enough talent on this defense to literally match up with anybody at this point. We have the physical corners. We have the hard-hitting safety. We have the ball hawk safety. We have guys like Eric Harris that can come in here. We have Jeff Heath. We have rotational guys. We have our defensive line it's there. It's really close. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to be a top 10 defensive line, but I expect them to take another step forward, and I think they can be close. I expect Max Crosby putting on weight. Cleveland Farrell looks like a different guy adding like 13 pounds. Everything that's going on. Shout out to Silver and Black today in the chat. I appreciate the donation. Big inspiration right there. Great show. Scott does a great job over there setting the tone. I will say, but just adding that speed alone is what's going to separate this team from 2019 to 2020. We started seeing the defense kind of, getting their feet wet. They're figuring things out. The offense was having to make so many adjustments, but losing Tyrell Williams was a guy that could have been taking the top off of defenses, but he had plantar fasciitis in both feet. We didn't even realize that, right? He's trying to play through that. Hunter Renfrow, obviously not a speedster, and we kind of just had this revolving door of like our, I guess it'd be like, I don't know, our Z just not even, we didn't have like a Z. We just had like this rotating guy playing opposite of Tyrell Williams, and that just took away the biggest element of John Gruden's offense, of his scheme. You don't give him that player like the Henry Ruggs, what are we going to do? So now we're going to see, even like Zay Jones. Zay Jones comes out and says that he lost weight to get faster. His focus was quickness and speed. So that's amazing. That's amazing. Next topic I want to hit on from this, and that's going to be why we chose Ruggs over other wide receivers in this draft. Obviously, it's a big topic that's been going throughout the offseason. It's good to hear Mike explain it.
Most people had at the top of their wide receiver board 3 guys, right? And it was Ruggs, it was Judy, and it was the kid from Oklahoma, okay? And we worked with all 3 of those guys. CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma, of course. We worked all those guys out. We spent time with them. We were on Zoom calls with them. We were at the combine. We watched every tape. I had school visits to Alabama. I had Oklahoma. I was at their pro day. I was at their Oklahoma State game. So we were tracking all those guys. And what I would tell you is that all 3 kids were special, but they were also distinct in style. I thought it was really interesting. You know, CeeDee Lamb, I thought, was outstanding with the ball in his hands. Really good all-around athlete. Jerry Jeudy was probably the best route runner in the draft. Ruggs was the one that was the most intriguing guy to unwrap, to learn more about. It was a lot easier to figure out Jeudy and to figure out Lamb. I spent some time at Alabama. I've known Nick Saban for a lot of years. And the more we dug into this kid and who he was, the more we liked him. And to give you an example, you know, when Nick Saban tells you that a kid is the hardest working kid on that football team and comes to every practice like he's a walk-on, that means something to me. And when his play demeanor backs that up, the fact that he was a gunner and a jammer on special teams, he would block in the run game. When you go through all his targets in his entire career at Alabama, his hands were really good. You know, you have this thing in your mind about a vertical sprint speed guy. I think his hands were underrated. So do we need to get more out of him as far as learning how to run routes and releases off it? Yeah, of course we do. But when you talk about stretching the field both vertically and horizontally, Ruggs can do it. He's working his tail off. Edgar Bennett, our wide receivers coach, is doing a great job. I think when you throw in Ryan Edwards, you've got 2 hard-working kids. And go back to the earlier conversation, JT, 2 kids that love ball, passion for the game. They're working their tails off. And then I would add that not enough people are talking about Zay Jones and Nelson Aguilar, who are having outstanding camps. So I think when you throw them all together and put our guy Hunter Renfrow into the mix, we're pretty excited about our wide receiver core.
That gets me pretty fired up, not going to lie. That was a good roundup of why we chose Ruggs over the rest. And it's one of those things where you got to look at it. And that's why I think you kind of had this draft crush on him from the beginning is you look at CeeDee, and he was a great wide receiver, arguably the best. They're all 3 of them could have arguably been the best coming out in the draft this year. But looking at what we needed, and it seems like it's been a theme. We've had this conversation over and over again. It's almost like a debate. How you draft. You draft need, or do you draft best player available? And the analytical and the critical people seem to, side with the draft the best player available, right? And I think that's how Mike Mayock sees it. I think he goes out and he finds the best players available. But the way we make our selections and the way we're going to improve our football team the most is to draft a little bit more while looking at best players available, obviously, but drafting a little bit more by need. And a huge need was Henry Ruggs, but he also fits the bill for everything else. And there's a reason, right? There's things that we don't see, guys. We don't sit through these private conversations. We don't get to dig into these wide receivers. We see highlight tapes. We see a couple press conferences, but that's not when they're themselves. If you're judging a player off what they're saying at the press conference, then you're not getting the true player. You're not getting the true work ethic, or you're not getting the true drive out of that player. They could either be not comfortable in situations like national media, things like that, or they could just be able to put on a show. You're not going to know who they are sitting down one-on-one. I mean, if you sit down one-on-one with John Gruden and Mike Mayock, I can guarantee you they're going to pull out the true personality out of you. They're going to figure out everything about you, and they're going to be able to make the best choice possible. So picking Henry Ruggs, this is why. I mean, hey, look, they're not perfect. Not every front office is perfect. We're not going to nail every single pick. I still like every single pick. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan. I'm glad we picked these guys. They're not going to nail every single pick, but I absolutely stand behind our selection of Henry Ruggs just because I trust them the most. That was their most important pick in this draft. And obviously they had all three at their disposal at that first selection in the first round. So I'm all on board with Ruggs. Shout out to Lucille in the chat. Lucille, coming through. Here's 100 more shows. I'm telling you. I'm so pumped up right now. Episode 100. Episode freaking 100. I'm so pumped on it. But I got two more quotes here. Lucille, I'm going to be looking for your shirt. I got a Lucille shirt coming in soon. I'm going to be showing you guys. I'm going to be dropping a link. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, too. She might be doing some YouTube stuff here pretty soon. We'll talk more in the future. But the next topic, and that's Lynn Bowden. Lynn Bowden, there's been some stir that he's not 100% like picking everything up, that he's struggling a little bit with pass blocking, things like that. And that's expected. I've been saying this from the get-go. Lynn Bowden's coming in here with probably this steepest learning curve of any rookie just because of the position changes and just because of the position that he's going to be playing in John Gruden's offense, kind of like all around. Here and he's playing some wildcat. He's listed as a running back. He's going to be playing slot. Like, he's learning three different positions in a very complex offense. So I can understand the struggles. But here's a clip of what Mike Mayock has to say about Lynn Bowden.
Yeah, the background here for fans to understand is that he played at University of Kentucky in the SEC, best conference in the country. His junior year, he was a slot receiver and one of the best slot receivers in the SEC. Caught over 60 passes, 1,000 yards. He was dynamic in the slot. Comes back his senior year, and the quarterback gets hurt. I think it was week 1, and they move him from slot to quarterback. Okay, he's also the best punt returner in that league. And they move him to quarterback. And he rushes for 1,500 yards at quarterback. And sure, a lot of it's zone read, but he's running quarterback counter, quarterback power, which are traditional I-formation plays for a tailback. So, he was one of the guys we wanted to meet at the Combine. And John loves to get, you remember at the Combine, you only get 15 minutes. You get 60 players, 15 minutes apiece typically. And what can you get done in 15 minutes to learn more about a kid? So John does a great job with the coaching staff, kind of putting some stuff up on the board, teaching them our verbiage, going to something else, showing video, and then at the end, for the last 5 minutes, kind of coming back to what we taught them about our verbiage and our plays, and see if they can replicate the conversation we had 10 minutes earlier in our verbiage. And to our surprise, Bowden sat there and spat it out, just spat it all right back out at us. And John just started laughing. John was going nuts. And that was kind of cool. That was the beginning of us trying to kind of peel away the layers of this Bowden cat. Now, like I've said with all the rookies, let's take a step back and understand what he's trying to do. Even though he's coming from the SEC and he's got heavy production at two positions, we're asking him to play a completely different position. We're putting a lot on his plate. He's got running back plays. He's got punt return. We're going to ask him to catch the ball. So we're asking an awful lot of this young man. And anytime you ask a college player to play a different position, it's called a projection. And you got to give him some time. And that's the way I feel about Lynn. Lynn's come in. He's done everything we asked, but we just got to continue to give him the time to learn to convert to a running back primarily, and he's never been that before.
And there's nothing wrong with that, what we're doing. I mean, I know we're expecting a lot out of him. I still, don't let me shoot this down to think that he's not going to be a great player this year. I still think he's going to do great things. I still think he's going to go out there. I think he's going to have a great role. I think he's going to make big plays. You're going to see him in the slot. You're going to see him playing running back. You might see him taking snaps out of shotgun and wildcat. You might see him doing a lot of things. But it's just going to take a while for him to really develop that role. And I think that's why we, of course, are going to be keeping Jalen Richard. And I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe tried to get on a fourth running back like Theo Riddick to be that passing down guy to come in and back up and do great things. So Lynn Bowden, I see a lot of potential there. I do. It's just he has a very, very steep learning curve. This isn't normal. There's not very many players that come into the league like a Lynn Bowden Jr. and are going to be able to turn into Taysom Hill their rookie year. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to work. I want to give a shout out to Stage Door Casino in the chat. I've been looking for you, John, all night. I've plugged Stage Door Casino a lot tonight, but I'm going to give them one more plug here towards the end of the show. And make sure you guys are paying attention during game day weekends. Friday night, Saturday night, we're doing Nation Nights. And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek here. I'm going to give you a little insider information, a little tip. When you go to Stage Door Casino, when you go there, I don't care if it's your first time or your 50th time, your 100th time, if you know everybody there, I don't care. When you go there, and you haven't done this, you got to make sure you do it. When you go to Stage Door Casino and you walk through them sliding doors, you got to walk through there and you just got to give them a Raiders as you walk through the door. Give them that. As you walk in the door. Sit down. John or somebody's going to be hitting you with a drink. Go to Stage Door Casino. Take my advice and do that. Nation Nights, every Friday night and Saturday night on game day. Nation Nights. Get a little fired up. I get all fired up here. So, Stage Door Casino has a lot of things going on. You're a busy man, John. I forgive you. I'm still holding it down here for you, buddy. The last topic I want to hit on here from Mike Mayock. And he was talking about crowd noise. And we've seen some things kind of circulate a little bit. I think I posted a video on my Twitter of the fake crowd noise. And here's an explanation kind of what we can expect.
I was really excited to get in their stadium last Friday and get a feel. And the NFL is going to provide a soundtrack that all teams are going to play in their stadiums. So there's going to be a certain bench, and it's going to be kind of a compilation of what the last 4 years sounded like in the black hole. And they're not going to allow it to get too high, and they're probably not going to allow an offense or defense to get an advantage, but we're going to have a baseline audio track played throughout the game that sounds like fans. So last Friday when we went out for our practice at the stadium, even though it was dead empty, once they started playing that soundtrack, and again, JT, when the game starts, the players lock in, right? They lock in, and it sounded like, and it felt like an NFL game. And sure, you're not going to have the emotional boost being at home for a big play and people going nuts and but we're going to have to generate that on our own. And I look at we've got a young football team. We're one of the younger teams in the league, and I would think they're going to be able to do that. Let's generate some energy on our own. Is it going to be the same without fans? No. But I think our play and our execution should be every bit as good, every bit as energetic, and I think we owe it to all these suite holders, all these fans, all these people that believe in us year one in Vegas. We want to show you who we are, and we want to get out there and compete our tails off and earn your trust and respect.
100%. I love the way you ended that. And talking about the fake crowd noise, I hit on this a couple weeks ago. I forget if it was even on my show or if I was doing an interview. I talk way too much Raiders football to even remember where it's going. But having these young guys like the Damon Arnett's, the Jonathan Abrams, right? You get Max Crosby out there with his swagger. You see some of these guys out there that can jaw and get fired up, make big plays, celebrate, have a good time, kind of just get the vibe going. You know what I'm saying? You make a big play and you feel good about it. You're strutting your stuff. Like we have some of those guys finally, and I feel like we have it for a long time. We don't got, Garyon Conley out there just like dragging his shoulders along. You know what I mean? Daryl Worley, I felt like was a great player for us, but even he like wasn't like real energetic after big plays. Bringing in the guys that we do, missing Jonathan Abram last year, obviously. Bringing in the guys that we do, I feel like we have that, okay, cool, we got the common, in the background, like there's someone there. But after big plays, we have the guys that can get the rest of the team fired up after that big play. Like, we can build momentum, and we have to be able to do that. Again, we're competing with the Kansas City Chiefs at this point. We're not playing for a playoff game. We're not here to make the playoffs. We're playing to be the best in our division and make a run at the Super Bowl. And to do that right now, that is to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And they are able to do that. They're able to create momentum. They do it at away games when the crowd is getting shut down, right? When the crowd is quiet, they're generating their own momentum and their own energy and are able to flip the script off of big plays. And that's what we got to be able to do. We got to be able to get a turnover and not just get an interception and give the ball back to the offense. No, we're not just getting an interception just to, here you go, Derek, go do your thing. No, we're getting that interception and we're fired up. And we're like, let's go freaking punch that sucker in. Let's get fired up. Let's have a good time. Let's get the team, feeling themselves a little bit. And let's make some plays the rest of the game. You know what I mean? We're shifting momentum, and I think we finally have those players. So the fake crowd noise, obviously it's not going to be the same. We get that. But we're not the only team dealing with it. We're not. I'm a little frustrated because my one opinion and my one complaint that I want to say now is if there's the majority of the teams are shutting down, like ourselves, are shutting down any fans coming in. Like we're 0%, zero fans, nothing. Not even the owner's going to be there. Why would the NFL allow some teams to be like 20% capacity or 15% or 30% or whatever they're doing? How come they can have 20,000 fans in the stadium and we're making the choice, the safe choice and just not taking any chances of risking the season? How come other teams get to? I feel like I get it. I'm a Raiders fan, biased Raiders fan, but I think it's time the NFL levels the playing field and takes away fans out of all stadiums just to level the playing field whenever we travel. How come they get the home field advantage and we don't? Because 20,000 fans is still going to be a little – the noise is going to be there. There's going to be momentum. It's going to be a lot more than what we get because we're not going to get we'll get music, but the crowd's not going to get louder. So that's where I sit. That's going to be it. That's it for me tonight. That's all I got. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys rocking with me because this is episode 100, baby. 100, man. 100 episodes, 100 more, 200 more, 300 more. We're going to keep this thing going. I mean, it's not stopping now. And like I said from the get-go, we didn't come in here with this. I'm not a reporter. I'm not an analyst. I'm not in it for, I'm not trying to make money here. I'm not. I'm here to build relationships, whether that's with you guys, the viewers. I know I can't sit here and it's hard for me to interact. I wish I could more. I wish I could sit here and jump in the chat more, read your comments more, but I could promise you'd be a lot more boring as I skim through if I'm trying to read, comprehend, answer questions. It's just not going to be there. But I see you guys. I see you in the chat. And when we go to Vegas and we have home games or we go to the home opener, what should be the home opener, and we have a party at Stage Door Casino, right? When we have a party at Stage Door Casino before the Saints game in Vegas, I want everybody here to be welcome to come hang out. I want to meet you guys. We want to do some cool things in Vegas. I'm here for the relationships. That's with everybody, whether it's Stage Door Casino, Blue Wire Podcasts, RaidersBeat.com, or every single person that's sitting here in this chat or listening to the post-produced podcast or following me on social media. That's what we're about. One Nation, Raider Nation. Just trying to have a good time, flat out. And I'm having a blast here. Episode 100. Done. Bam. Feels good. I will see you guys next Saturday night. Peace.